All right, hey VC, I'm Jamie. Welcome back. We're back with another video. I'm back with vinyl finds for 2024 to start off a brand new year. And yeah, so let's get to it. These are records that I've picked up pretty much from late 2023, the past several months. So yeah, let's get to it. I'm going to start things out with a UK band, Pilot, a band I didn't know initially was a UK band. They had the song Magic, which was a big radio hit. Always really liked that song, and very happy to find the album. Great harmonies, just a great sound to this band, the band Pilot. Okay, found this one at my local record store in the bargain bins, and this is Sandy Nelson's Let There Be Drums, and cover's a little worn, but it plays okay. This on Imperial, Let There Be Drums, the big, you know, the whole Sandy Nelson drum sound, a number of albums featuring the whole drum thing, but yeah, very, very happy to come across that, and especially in the bargain bins. Okay, we've got Canadian singer-songwriter stuff from the 70s. This is Murray McLaughlin's Song from the Street. Murray McLaughlin was on True North Records, and so his label mate was Bruce Cockburn. Again, that very sort of folky singer-songwriter. Murray McLaughlin kind of leaned a little bit more to the countryside. Bruce Cockburn then started kind of leaning towards more folk rock sort of thing, but yeah, Murray McLaughlin. Another Canadian singer-songwriter, Jane Siberry. This album comes under some different covers, but this is Jane Siberry, No Borders Here. There's a different cover for this one that has kind of a woman looking out from the beach sort of thing. This came out in the early 80s. If you don't know Jane Siberry, it's very sort of keyboard or piano-driven, as I mentioned, a singer-songwriter. I suppose if you like Kate Bush, you would find Jane Siberry of interest. If you like Laurie Anderson, you would find Jane Siberry of interest, especially you know, this early period. The Waitress was a hit. Mimi on the Beach was the big hit from this. Jane Siberry. And interesting to find this with the hype sticker, but I purchased this with the hype sticker actually just on the outer jacket, so I don't know if someone then later attached it to that, but that was kind of neat to have that. Okay, I don't know how many Man for Man, Earth Band albums there are, but this is one I didn't have. Man for Man's Earth Band, Solar Fire. And another great Man for Man Earth Band, a band I just really love. And of course, this features Chris Slade on drums, and of course with Man for Man and Mick Rogers on vocals for this one. Okay, and another Marshall Tucker Band album that I did not have. This is Long Hard Ride. Very picturesque cover there. Found this one at my local thrift store, Value Village. How about Buck Owens and the best of Buck Owens on Capitol? And of course, this has Act Naturally, which was later covered by Ringo and the Beatles. Plays great, pretty solid on Capitol. Best of Buck Owens, can't go wrong with that. Another UK-Canadian artist, this is Nick Gilder and his album Frequency. And Nick Gilder with Roxy Music had the big hit Hot Child in the City. I've always really liked Nick Gilder's voice. I thought it was that really nice kind of glam rock sound. No big hits on this one, but still not a bad album overall. Okay, here's another one I found in the bargain bin at my local record store, and it was like, what? And yeah, so I got this for really cheap. This is an Otis Spann record. The Blues is Where Is At. So this is on Blues Way. Plays great. I mean, the cover's not in the best of shape, but that's okay. Amazing band. We got Otis Spann along with Muddy Waters on guitar. This was around the same time as that John Lee Hooker album that I showed recently, the John Lee Hooker Live, where he was accompanied by Muddy Waters along with Otis Spann. So this was recorded kind of live in the studio. So if you're listening to this initially without reading the liner notes, you'd think it's a live album, but it's a group of people enjoying this in the studio. But it really does have that sort of live album feel, but couldn't believe by luck coming across that one. Okay, more sort of fairly obscure Canadian stuff. How about the Bells? And here's a title for you: Love, Luck, and Lollipops. Why they called it that, I'm not exactly sure. And these pictures were apparently taken at the time in Disney. Is it Disney World or Disneyland, Anaheim, California? The Bells had a really kind of very soft sound. The Bells at the time were very much the sound of the Poppy family, the sort of Susan Jacks and Terry Jacks thing. The hits off this one was Sweet Sounds of Music, For Better, For Worse, and then they do covers on this one, like To Know You Is to Love You, Homeward Bound, that sort of thing. Very soft sort of, you know, radio. That early 70s sound, if you will. If you like the Mamas and Papas, you might like that as well. Okay, bought this at my local record store, Tears for Fears and Sowing the Seeds of Love. I've always really enjoyed this album. Some people don't care for it. I think the title track is great, Woman in Chains. I like that kind of jazz thing that they were sort of exploring at the time. Now, this is a later pressing because it is numbered. I don't really have any information about this one, but it's clearly some sort of, I don't think it's an initial pressing, but I could be wrong on that. But really happy to pick that up. Okay, we got another Canadian band called Stone Boat that I recall is from the West Coast. Pretty light pop, radio-friendly kind of stuff. The hit off the one record off this one was Don't You Hide It. And then on this one, they do actually a cover of Please Please Me. And yeah, it's nice, you know, Canadian light kind of rock, light pop. Okay, wonderful artist that I thoroughly enjoy. Anytime I see a Joan Armatrading album I don't have, I pick it up. I just think she has such a unique voice and just a great style, great, you know, just great performances. And Joan Armatrading, this is Secret Secrets, and this actually is a promo copy. Okay, UK-based artist. And now we've got David Lindley. I seem to be coming across a few David Lindley albums recently for whatever reason. More noted as kind of a sideman, particularly to Jackson Browne, but this is a terrific album. I think in terms of the David Lindley albums I've picked up, I think this one is the best. David Lindley and El Rayo X win this record. I like the kind of whole kind of retro sort of thing going on. Booker T. Jones is featured on this on one of the tracks. Great record. Okay, I'm glad I was able to pick this one up. I don't, for whatever reason, often see this one. This is actually the first official, if I'm not mistaken, the first official Jefferson Starship album. Grace Slick and Paul Kantner, called Dragonfly. And, of course, Grace Slick, Paul Kantner. But Marty Balin is also featured on this one. But I guess he's not part of the proper group. But they also have Papa John Creech on violin. The track Ride the Tiger is a great one. And the Marty Balin track, Caroline, is really terrific. So happy to pick that one up. Okay, didn't have this one in my record collection on vinyl, Buddy Holly's Greatest Hits, and this is on Coral, so that's quite cool, featuring, you know, everything, just about everything you need from Buddy Holly. Unfortunately, this is that whole enhanced for stereo thing, but having said that, this is still a really nice sounding record. I don't know if this is an initial press, but it does feel like at least an early press. For sure. Okay, and pick this up at Thrift Store, Value Village. How about some Tanya Tucker Greatest Hits? And this one's still in the shrink. Of course, this features Delta Dawn. Tanya Tucker, she really had that kind of rock and edge to her in terms of country music. Great, that great voice of hers. Okay, Style Council, introducing the Style Council. So this is like an EP, of course, with Paul Weller, his post the Jam stuff, and yeah, going in a different direction with this group. But yeah, Style Council mini LP. Mini LP as opposed to an EP. Here's a band called Gamma. Now, this is an offshoot of the band Montrose, featuring Ronnie Montrose, and this is their second album, simply called 2. Pretty good rockin' stuff. I mean, if you like Montrose, you're not going to go wrong with this album or with this band. Okay, Cat Stevens, Greatest Hits Volume 2, and a little, I mean, it's the Greatest Hits, you almost miss it down here, especially with this still in the shrink. You almost miss it down here. You're thinking it might be, you know, another Cat Stevens studio record, Footsteps in the Dark, but it is Greatest Hits Volume 2. They feature some of the tracks from Harold and Maude, including If You Want to Sing Out. Overall, not as strong as Cat Stevens' Greatest Hits, and then they also have Father and Son on this one as well, which I find a little odd. But still, it's generally a nice listen, but in terms of a Greatest Hits Volume 2, it is lacking a bit. Another sort of a career, not exactly Greatest Hits, but a career retrospective. This is Steely Dan, of course, UK folk rock, if you will. Steel Eye, did I say Steely Dan? I hope I didn't say Steely Dan. Steel Eye Span, I'm sorry, correcting myself, and Time Span. So say that 5 times fast. Steel Eye Span and Time Span. So this is a double album retrospective. Not to be confused with Steely Dan. Oh my goodness. Okay, here's the band Diesel. You might not be familiar with this band. They were a Dutch band. I didn't know that at the time. Enjoying the radio song Salsalito Summer Night. And I think that's just, again, just another fun radio song. Nice sound overall for this band. So yeah, pick this up. This is Diesel and the album Watts in a Tank. Okay. Always pick up any Graham Parker albums I can, and it's interesting. I don't know. Graham Parker seems to be getting quite popular as as an artist to be sought after. And this is Graham Parker, Another Gray Area. Just like his sound overall, can't go wrong with any Graham Parker records. Okay, I didn't even know this existed. This is Maggie Bell and Queen of the Night. Maggie Bell is the lead vocalist with Stone the Crow. If you love Janis Joplin, this is dynamite. I'm telling you, this is so good. Cover of After Midnight on here. I mean, it's so good. It is so good. She's just got a great voice, and that's a great album. Okay, can't go wrong with War's Greatest Hits, and I kind of like the way they do this with and that is side 1, and then you flip it over for the cover, and that is side 2. So it's got All Day Music, Slipping into Darkness, World is Ghetto, Cisco Kid, Gypsy Man. What else we got here? Why Can't We Be Friends, Lowrider in Summer. You can't go wrong with that one. Okay, I picked this one up a while ago. Just haven't had a chance to show it. I picked up Jody Watley. I just remember this from the 80s. Looking for a New Love. I thought that was a pretty decent single. The album's generally pretty good overall. So it's interesting. She has quite a unique vocal style. I want to say vocal range, but she doesn't sound the same on every track. But I was happy to pick that one up. Okay, we got Lindensfarne. We've got more folk from the UK, and this is Lindensfarne and Fog on the Tyne. And it says first UK pressing, a pink label on the Charisma label. Okay, how about The Best of Little Walter, Volume 2. And it's interesting because I also have sort of like a Best of Little Walter. That's a 2-album set, and it's not part of this series kind of thing, but it's interesting that 2-album set, also on Chess, doesn't really have any of the tracks on this one with the exception of one. So I kind of lucked out okay in terms of picking up some Little Walter without too much repeat. So that's what's on here. And great blues harp with the one and only Little Walter. Okay, Slade, Nobody's Fool. Again, if I see a Slade album that I don't have, generally I'm going to buy it. Of course, featuring Noddy Holder. I don't think in terms of North America, this one on Polydor, no big hits on this one, but, you know, that unmistakable Slade sound. Okay, I picked this up at my local record store, Percy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman. This is a mono copy, but this has to be some sort of later press because there is no way it would be in this good a condition, and it does feel like slightly lighter vinyl. It doesn't feel like it would be a 60s issue, but this is a great album. And you want to talk about albums that have a great second song. I mean, there's so many examples on that, but the track here, check this track out. I mean, we all know When a Man Loves a Woman, and for many of us, that's the only Percy Sledge song we know. But My Adorable One is a great track, so check that one out. Yeah, and overall, a very nice record. And yeah, happy to have that just on vinyl. Okay, Mazzy has talked about this one quite extensively. This is the reissue series, kind of a slow deluxe reissue series for the band Little Feat. This is Sailing Shoes. And as I've kind of mentioned with the Alice Cooper reissues that they've been doing, and in fact, they've had $1 Billion Babies that's going to be coming out in March as part of a 3-album set. So this is, again, is a deluxe edition 3-album set. So you got Sailing Shoes, the 2023 remaster. And then the second album is Hotcakes, Outtakes, and Rarities. And then the third album is Thank You, I'll Eat It Here, live at the Palladium, Los Angeles, California. And great artwork. Really nice package, triple LP set. I think if you're going to do these kind of deluxe editions on vinyl, this is the way to do it. I think they come across really well. I do still have to get the other one from the Little Feat. They've only released 2 as far as I understand for these deluxe editions. The other one I got to get is Dixie Chicken. I've been kind of watching the price point on that one. It has gone down a little bit, so we'll see if I can pick that up. Okay, pick this one up at my local thrift store, Value Village. This is Phil Ochs and Greatest Hits, and it is not a Greatest Hits. This is Phil Ochs, of course, kind of sending up the whole 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. He's got the gold lame suit. He does kind of a little bit of a rock and roll, but musically it's really kind of all over the map. There's still the kind of the folk sound, and then there's almost a kind of a classical Baroque sound. And this is a later issue on Pickwick, and the back cover is different from the original, but it's actually quite a nice write-up since this one was released after his death, so it's quite a nice write-up on his career. Unfortunately, with these Pickwick records, they leave a track off for whatever reason. They leave one of the more political, sort of folky songs. I can't remember the title, but it kind of lampoons Nixon, Spiro Agnew, but it's not available on this one. So it's the whole album except one track, and it's like, I don't know why they do that. That's kind of frustrating. Okay, moving right along. How about some funk with the Eely Brothers? Eely Brothers, and this is Harvest for the World. Okay, we've got, again, a great artist, great performer. This is Bonnie Raitt and The Glow. Okay, we got the Best of the Spinners, a little bit more, lighter soul, and this is quite simply the Best of the Spinners. And this one has It's a Shame. It also has Ooh Child on here, and it's got a very nice cover. I think this one's on, this one's on Motown, so it's not all the Best of the Spinners, it's their Motown stuff, but I do like their cover of My Whole World Ended the Moment You Left Me. That's pretty nice. This one's still in the shrink, so you get a bit of glare going on there. Okay, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Love Beach, a very polarizing album. I don't feel this album is as bad as everyone says it is. I mean, it's not bad. It's not great in terms of all the, the great ELP records, and it's a cringy cover for sure. Is it ELP or is it the Bee Gees kind of thing? But overall, I don't think it's as bad as album as everybody says it is. That's just my opinion. Okay, happy to come across this. Roy Orbison's Greatest Hits. This is the double set. I often come across just the single album, so very cool to have the double album that gives you just about everything you need. Again, on Monument Records. So, I mean, just absolutely terrific. I mean, just can't go wrong with that one. Okay, a fairly obscure Canadian band called The Front. They had a very kind of radio-friendly sound, sort of very light Steely Dan, if you will, as opposed to Steel Ice Band. A very late sort of Steely Dan song. They had the hit, the song called The Haunting Jimmy Loves Mary Ann. And if you hear the song, it'll become an earworm. It's got that Jimmy Loves Mary Ann. And it's just a nice song. And it's just really the two guys in this band, and was pretty happy to come across that one. Nice sound for that band that's been kind of forgotten about. Okay, how about Jesse Winchester? This is Through the Let the Rough Side Drag. Jesse Winchester, Let the Rough Side Drag, and this is a promo copy. Again, singer-songwriter, covered by so many different artists through the years, and always like Jesse Winchester records. And sort of that transplanted American who came up to Canada to avoid the draft. We've got Scotland's Finest, how about Nazareth, and The Fool Circle, quite a strange things going on there in the cover. Overall, this is not a great album. This is really Nazareth sort of softening their sound, but it is worth picking up just for their cover of the J.J. Cale song / Eric Clapton's Cocaine. It's an acoustic version of that song, and it's a live rendition, and I think it's just really, really good. I've always enjoyed that. Okay, this is the band Q, and this is a record my son Malcolm gave me for Christmas. And so this is their album Sick Days. They're, young, rockin', is it rock, punk, that sort of thing. It's, they got one side Banger City and then the other side Heavy Hitters. And they have been, touring constantly, both in Canada and the United States. And my son is very good friends with Emmett O'Reilly, and he got the band to sign the album for me for Christmas. How cool is that? So that was a very, very nice, pleasant surprise. And so you can check them out. All their stuff's on Spotify, or you can check them out on YouTube. They got tons of videos and whatnot. PQ ×3 or PQ kind of thing is kind of a send up on that. Okay, a very odd compilation. This is called Propaganda, and basically it's an A&M compilation that features the popular artists at the time on the label, including The Police, Joe Jackson. One side is live, the other side is studio. They feature Squeeze, Slap, and Tickle on here. Interesting what was going on in terms of the packaging for this, but this also includes the poster, and the live stuff is great, especially for The Police with Landlord and Next to You. Okay, we've got a couple of Holland Oats records. We've got, when they're getting back in the day when they got along. We got Holland Oats and Oh Yeah. Missed Opportunity, hitting on here. And then we got Holland Oats, Private Eyes, of course, the title track. And I Can Go For That, No Can Do. Did It in a Minute. Back when they used to get along. Oh my goodness, I tell you. Okay, I finally picked up a decent copy of SAS Jordan, and this is Tell Somebody. SAS Jordan was pretty big back in the, I want to say the 80s. Really very powerful voice. Tell Somebody, So Hard. Breakaway was a great track on here. I'd love to see her live, and she also has done backup vocals for a number of different artists. Very much kind of like Amanda Marshall, another Canadian artist, but worth checking out if you like a good rockin' kind of 80s sound. With very strong vocals, SAS Jordan. She put out a few records, then kind of just seemed to disappear, but finally found a decent copy that has the inner sleeve. For whatever reason, so many times the inner sleeve was missing, but yeah, happy to get that one. Okay, I was given this free. This showed up at a charity shop that doesn't deal with vinyl or anything like that, or a charity organization, and they said, did you want this? And I said, yeah, okay, I'll take it. This is not a full-length album, and also I don't really get into 12-inch singles, or rarely do, but this is Michael McDonald's Sweet Freedom. So you've got, what, like 3 different versions of the song that just seem to go on and on and on. It's okay. I wouldn't buy this necessarily, but I was happy to get that for free. Okay, I featured this one on my Instagram. I bought this at my local record store at Diamond Dogs, actually quite a while ago. I haven't had a chance to show it. This is such a wild album. I saw this talked about on the VC channel, as it should be, and this is Mae West, Way Out West. So she's teamed up with this band called, what is the name of the band called? They're a pretty decent band. There's also horns on here, but this, this band that backs her up called Somebody's Children are pretty good. So it's kind of like you see here on the cover, Come Up and Rock With Me. So you got Mae West covering Day Tripper, When a Man Loves a Woman, Shaken All Over in her style. And I'm sure somebody thought this was going to be a very funny, clever idea to team up Mae West with the Rockin' Young Kids band. For the sheer novelty, very interesting to have this album for sure. Okay, great singer-songwriters. Canada's Kate and Anna McGarrigle, and this is the album Love Over and Over. At first, a little bit of a different sound for them, but again, it really does kind of continue in their folk, but this is 1982, so again, 80s sound or 80s influences starting to creep in for that. John Entwistle. This is John Entwistle's Ochs and the album Mad Dog. Didn't really care for this album, and I don't know why, for whatever reason. I just didn't connect it. He's kind of trying to do some sort of, ode to rock and roll on this one, which I just don't think works. I do generally like John Entwistle's solo stuff. But that one I just didn't connect with. Lindsay Buckingham, again, solo artist, of course, from Fleetwood Mac, and the album Law and Order. Trouble, of course, was the big hit from this one. Overall, this is a pretty decent record, Lindsay Buckingham solo stuff. And saw this one available, so I thought I'd grab it. I'm really starting to get into the sort of Afrobeat sound, and this is King Sunny Ade and his African Beats, and the album is called Aura. Just wonderful to put that on the stereo and enjoy. Okay, we got some psych stuff with Luther and the Hand People, Space Hymn. I think what you see is what you get. It's got kind of that sort of psych sound going on. America Live. This is America simply in concert, so I thought, well, I'll pick it up. Tin Man, I Need You, The Border, Sister Golden Hair. So this is America, I want to say from it's got to be like late 79, early 80s. Because it does have kind of that sort of, a bit of that 80s look going on here. You Can Do Magic, yeah, so it's definitely early 80s Ventura Highway. Pretty much everything you need. They don't do Muskrat Love on here, in case you were wondering. Okay, another Canadian band that I generally enjoy. They have a sort of a very radio-friendly sound. This is the band Idolize, which I believe are from the West Coast. This was led by Tad Campbell, and then they became Tad Campbell and Idolize. But the big hit on this is Tokyo Rose, which still gets radio play today. And so that is the album Idolize, simply titled that. And then Idolize Loves Imperfection. And then Tad Campbell and Idolize. And Blue Train was kind of a minor hit on this one. Okay, and if you like sort of Doug and the Slugs, you would like them as well. Okay, how about Frank Zappa? Zappa record I didn't have. This is You Are What You Is, a double album, and you got Steve Vai, of course, featured on this one, and you also have Jimmy Carl Black and Motorhead Sherwood also featured on here, a double album. But what's kind of weird is that the track listing, which is fine there, doesn't quite match the track listing on the albums. I think like one of the sides is in a different order. So in terms of listening to the album, you have to kind of follow that rather than, I think this one still follows the old side 1, and then you flip it at side 4, and then side 2 and 3, but it's not indicated sort of that way. Or there's some weird thing like that on that record, because when I was listening to it, it wasn't matching what, what I was reading. Okay, how about Humble Pie, Best of Humble Pie? Can't go wrong. Steve Merritt. Rockin' stuff. And The Move. I can't believe I came across something like this. The Move, the Greatest Hits Volume 1. Of course, The Move with Roy Wood and Bev Bevan. Of course, they would later hook up with Jeff Lynne and create ELO. But there you go, some Rockin' Move there. Greatest Hits Volume 1. A Joe Jackson album I did not know existed, and I'm happy I picked this up. This is the Joe Jackson Band, Yeah, 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 Beat Crazy. And again, it's got that really nice kind of early Joe Jackson kind of, you know, reggae influenced, or just kind of that, you know, that sort of late 70s, early 80s kind of pop with the reggae kind of sounds. And I don't think they did too many albums with this particular band, as far as I understand, but this is good. If you like Joe Jackson, particularly early Joe Jackson, definitely worth picking up. I don't know, I must be getting older in terms of Little River Band. I'm really starting to like the Little River Band, or appreciate their sound. I was always kind of sort of dismissive of, you know, but great harmonies, great sound. So we got the song Reminiscing that's featured on here. And it wasn't until recently that I found out apparently John Lennon was a fan of the song Reminiscing. I don't know if that's true or not, but there you go. Lady also on here. You know, just really great harmonies on a band like that. Band I was not familiar with called If. This is a UK band. If you like Blood, Sweat and Tears, worth checking out. And I quite like the very silvery cover there. And of course, you know, how many people in this band, much like a Blood, Sweat and Tears kind of outfit. And last but not least, we got Paul Jans, a Canadian artist you might not be familiar with. Lots of big radio hits, certainly in the 80s. This is Paul Jans and High Strung. Big hit on here was Close My Eyes and Go to Pieces. Go to Pieces was a huge hit. A very punchy 80s kind of sound for Paul Jans. Okay, and that's going to do it. Thanks so much for dropping by. We'll chat again. Bye-bye.